John and the Abbot. 1. The Three Questions. There once was a king of England whose name was John. He was a bad king, for he was harsh and cruel to his people, and so long as he could have his own way, he did not care what became of other folks. He was the worst king that England ever had. Now there was in the town of Canterbury a rich old abbot, who lived in grand style in a great house called the Abbey. Every day 100 noble men sat down with him to dine, and 50 brave knights in fine velvet cloaks and gold chains waited upon him at his table. When King John heard of the way in which the abbot lived, he made up his mind to put a stop to it, so he sent for the old man to come and see him. "How now, my good abbot," he said, "I hear that you keep a far better house than I. How dare you do such a thing? Don't you know that no man in the land ought to live better than the king? And I tell you that no man shall." "O king," said the abbot, "I beg to say that I am spending nothing but what is my own. I hope you will not think ill of me for making things pleasant for my friends and the brave knights who are with me." Think ill of you," said the king. "How can I help but think ill of you? All that there is in this broad land is mine by right. And do you dare to put me to shame by living in grander style than I? Oh, one would think you were trying to be king in my place."
"Oh, do not say so," said the abbot, "for
"Not another word," cried the king. "Your fault is plain, and unless you can answer me 3 questions, your head shall be cut off, and all your riches shall be mine."
"I will try to answer them, O king," said the abbot.
"Well then," said King John, "as I sit here with my crown of gold on my head, you must tell me to within a day just how long I shall live. Secondly, you must tell me how soon I shall ride round the whole world, and lastly, you shall tell me what I think."
"O king," said the abbot, "these are deep, hard questions, and I cannot answer them just now. But if you will give me 2 weeks to think about them, I will do the best that I can."
2 weeks you shall have," said the king. "But if then you fail to answer me, you shall lose your head, and all your lands shall be mine."
The abbot went away very sad and in great fear. He first rode to Oxford. There was a great school called a university, and he wanted to see if any of the wise professors could help him. But they shook their heads and said that there was nothing about King John in any of their books. Then the abbot rode down to Cambridge, where there was another university, but not one of the teachers in that great school could help him. At last, sad and sorrowful, he rode toward home to bid his friends and his brave knights goodbye, for now he had not a week to live. 2. The Three Answers. As the abbot was riding up the lane which led to his grand house, he met his shepherd going to the fields. "Welcome home, good master," cried the shepherd. "What news do you bring us from great King John?" Sad news, said the abbot, and then he told him all that had happened. Cheer up, good master," said the shepherd. "Have you never yet heard that a fool may teach a wise man wit? I think I can help you out of your trouble." "What? You help me?" cried the abbot. How? "Well," answered the shepherd, "you know that everyone says that I look just like you, and that I have sometimes been mistaken for you. So lend me your servants and your horse and your gown, and I will go up to London and see the king. If nothing else can be done, I can at least die in your place." "My good shepherd," said the abbot, "you are very, very kind, and I have a mind to let you try, but if the worst comes to worst, you shall not die for me. I will die for myself." So the shepherd got ready to go at once. He dressed himself with great care. Over his shepherd's coat he threw the abbot's long gown. He borrowed the abbot's cap and golden staff. When all was ready, no one in the world would have thought that he was not the great man himself. Then he mounted his horse, and with a great train of servants set out for London. Of course, the king did not know him. "Welcome, Sir Abbot," he said. "It is a good thing you've come back, but prompt as you are, if you fail to answer my 3 questions, you shall lose your head." "I am ready to answer them, O king," said the shepherd. Indeed, said the king, and he laughed to himself. "Well, then, answer my first question. How long shall I live? Come, you must tell me to the very day." "You shall live," said the shepherd, "until the day that you die, and not 1 day longer. And you shall die when you take your last breath, and not 1 moment before." "You are witty, I see," he said, "but we will let that pass and say that your answer is right. And now, tell me how soon I may ride round the world." "You must rise with the sun," said the shepherd, "and you must ride with the sun until it rises again next morning. As soon as you do that, you will find that you have ridden round the world in 24 hours. Indeed, I did not think that it could be done so soon. You are not only witty, but you are wise. We will let this answer pass. And now comes my 3rd and last question. What do I think?" "That is an easy question," said the shepherd. "You think that I am the Abbot of Canterbury, but to tell you the truth, I am only his poor shepherd, and I have come to beg your pardon for him and for me." And with that, he threw off his long gown. A merry fellow you are. And you shall be the Abbot of Canterbury in your master's place." "O king, that cannot be," said the shepherd, "for I can neither write or read." Very, very well then," said the king. "I will give you something else to pay you for this merry joke. I will give you 4 pieces of silver every week as long as you live, and when you get home you may tell the old abbot that you have brought him a free pardon from King John." The story of Robin Hood. In the rude days of King Richard and King John, there were many great woods in England. The most famous of these was Sherwood Forest, where the king often went to hunt deer. In this forest there lived a band of daring men called outlaws. They had done something that was against the law of the land and had been forced to hide themselves in the woods to save their lives. There they spent their time in roaming about among the trees, in hunting the king's deer, and in robbing rich travelers that came that way. There were nearly 100 of these outlaws, and their leader was a bold fellow called Robin Hood. They were dressed in suits of green and armed with bows and arrows, and sometimes they carried long wooden lances and broadswords, which they knew how to handle well. Whenever they had taken anything, it was brought and laid at the feet of Robin Hood, whom they called their king. He then divided it fairly among them, giving to each man his just share. Robin never allowed his men to harm anybody, but the rich men who lived in great houses and did no work. He was always kind to the poor, and he often sent help to them, and for that reason the common people looked upon him as their friend. Long after he was dead, men liked to talk about his deeds. Some praised him, and some blamed him. He was indeed a rude, lawless fellow, but at that time people did not think of right and wrong as they do now. A great many songs were made up about Robin Hood, and these songs were sung in the cottages and huts all over the land for hundreds of years afterward. Here is a little story that is told in one of those songs. Robin Hood was standing one day under a green tree by the roadside. While he was listening to the birds among the leaves, he saw a young man passing by. This young man was dressed in a fine suit of bright red cloth, and as he tripped gaily along the road, he seemed to be as happy as the day. "I will not trouble him," said Robin Hood, "for I think he is on his way to his wedding." The next day Robin stood in the same place. He had not been there long when he saw the same young man coming down the road, but he did not seem so happy this time. He had left his scarlet cloak at home, and at every step he sighed and groaned. "Ah, the sad day! The sad day!" he kept saying to himself. Then Robin Hood stepped out from under the tree and said, "I say, young man, have you any money to spare for my merry men and me?" "I have nothing at all," said the young man, "but 5 shillings and a ring." "A gold ring?" asked Robin. "Yes," said the young man, "it is a gold ring. Here it is." "Ah, I see," said Robin. "It is a wedding ring." "I have kept it these 7 years," said the young man. "I have kept it to give to my bride on our wedding day. We were going to be married yesterday, but her father has promised her to a rich old man whom she never saw, and now my heart is broken." "What is your name?" asked Robin Hood. "My name is Alan-a-Dale," said the young man. "What will you give me in gold or fee," said Robin, "if I will help you win your bride again in spite of the rich old man to whom she has been promised?" "I have no money," said Alan, "but I will promise to be your servant." "How many miles is it to the place where the maiden lives?" asked Robin. "It is not far," said Alan, "but she is to be married this very day, and the church is 5 miles away." Then Robin made haste to dress himself as a harper, and in the afternoon he stood in the door of the church. "Who are you?" said the bishop, "and what are you doing here?" "I am a bold harper," said Robin, "the best in the north country." "Oh, I'm glad you've come. There's no music that I like so well as that of a harp. Come in and play for us." "I will go in," said Robin, "but I will not give you any music until I see the bride and the bridegroom." Just then an old man came in. He was dressed in rich clothing, but was bent with age and was feeble and grey. By his side walked a fair young girl. Her cheeks were very pale, and her eyes were full of tears. "This is no match," said Robin. "Let the bride choose for herself." Then he put his horn to his lips and blew 3 times. The very next minute 24 men, all dressed in green and carrying long bows in their hands, came running across the fields. And as they marched into the church all in a row, the foremost among them was Alan-a-Dale. "Now, whom do you choose?" said Robin to the maiden. "I choose Alan-a-Dale," she said, blushing. "And Alan-a-Dale you shall have," said Robin. "And he that takes you from Alan-a-Dale shall find that he has Robin Hood to deal with." And so the fair maiden and Alan-a-Dale were married there and then, and the rich old man went home in a great rage. And thus, having ended this merry wedding, the bride looked like a queen, and so they returned to the merry greenwood amongst the leaves so green. Bruce and the Spider. There was once a king of Scotland whose name was Robert Bruce. He had need to be both brave and wise, for the times in which he lived were wild and rude. The King of England was at war with him, and had led a great army into Scotland to drive him out of the land. Battle after battle had been fought. 6 times Bruce led his brave little army against his foes, and 6 times had his men been beaten and driven into flight. At last his army was scattered, and he was forced to hide himself in the woods and in lonely places among the mountains. One rainy day Bruce lay on the ground under a rude shed, listening to the patter of the drops on the roof above him. He was tired and sick at heart, and ready to give up all hope. It seemed to him that there was no use for him to try to do anything more. As he lay thinking, he saw a spider over his head, making ready to weave her web. He watched her as she toiled slowly and with great care. 6 times she tried to throw her frail thread from one beam to another, and 6 times it fell short. "Poor thing," said Bruce. "You, too, know what it is to fail." But the spider did not lose hope with the 6th failure. With still more care, she made ready to try for the 7th time. Bruce almost forgot his own trouble as he watched her swing herself out upon the slender line. Would she fail again? No! The thread was carried safely to the beam and fastened there. "I, too, will try a 7th time," cried Bruce. He arose and called his men together. He told them of his plans and sent them out with messages of cheer to his disheartened people. Soon there was an army of brave Scotchmen around him. Another battle was fought, and the King of England was glad to go back to his own country. I have heard it said that after that day, no one by the name of Bruce would ever hurt a spider. The lesson which the little creature had taught the king was never forgotten. The Black Douglas. In Scotland, in the time of King Robert Bruce, there lived a brave man whose name was Douglas. His hair and beard were black and long, and his face was tanned and dark, and for this reason people nicknamed him the Black Douglas. He was a good friend of the king and one of his strongest helpers. In the war with the English who were trying to drive Bruce from Scotland, the Black Douglas did many brave deeds, and the English people became very much afraid of him. By and by the fear of him spread all through the land. Nothing could frighten an English lad more than to tell him that the Black Douglas was not far away. Women would tell their children when they were naughty that the Black Douglas would get them, and this would make them very quiet and good. There was a large castle in Scotland which the English had taken early in the war. The Scottish soldiers wanted very much to take it again, and the Black Douglas and his men went one day to see what they could do. It happened to be a holiday, and most of the English soldiers in the castle were eating and drinking and having a merry time. But they had left watchmen on the wall to see that the Scottish soldiers did not come upon them unawares, and so they felt quite safe. In the evening, when it was growing dark, the wife of one of the soldiers went up on the wall with her child in her arms. As she looked over into the fields below the castle, she saw some dark objects moving toward the foot of the wall. In the dusk she could not make out what they were, and so she pointed them out to one of the watchmen. "Pooh, pooh," said the watchman. "Those are nothing to frighten us. They are the farmer's cattle trying to find their way home. The farmer himself is enjoying the holiday, and he has forgotten to bring them in. If the Douglas should happen this way before morning, he'll be sorry for his carelessness." But the dark objects were not cattle. They were the Black Douglas and his men, creeping on hands and feet toward the foot of the castle wall. Some of them were dragging ladders behind them through the grass. They would soon be climbing to the top of the wall. None of the English soldiers dreamed that they were within many miles of the place. The woman watched them until the last one had passed around the corner out of sight. She was not afraid, for in the darkening twilight they looked indeed like cattle. And after a little while she began to sing to her child, "Hush ye, little pet ye, hush ye, do not fret ye, the Black Douglas shall not get ye." All at once a gruff voice was heard behind her saying, "Don't be so sure about that!" She looked around, and there stood the Black Douglas himself. At the same moment a Scottish soldier climbed off a ladder and leaped upon the wall, and then there came another and another and another until the wall was covered with them. Soon there was hot fighting in every part of the castle, but the English were so taken by surprise that they could not do much. Many of them were killed, and in a little while the Black Douglas and his men were the masters of the castle, which by right belonged to them. As for the woman and her child, the Black Douglas would not suffer anyone to harm them. After a while they went back to England, and whether the mother made up any more songs about the Black Douglas, I cannot tell. Three Men of Gotham. There is a town in England called Gotham, and many merry stories are told of the queer people who used to live there. One day 2 men of Gotham met on a bridge. Hodge was coming from the market, and Peter was going to the market. "Where are you going?" said Hodge. "I'm going to the market to buy sheep," said Peter. "Buy sheep?" said Hodge. "And which way will you bring them home?" "I shall bring them over this bridge," said Peter. "No, you shall not," said Hodge. "Yes, I will," said Peter. "You shall not," said Hodge. "I will," said Peter. Then they beat with their sticks on the ground as though there had been 100 sheep between them. "Take care," cried Peter. "Look out that my sheep don't jump on the bridge." "I care not where they jump," said Hodge, "but they shall not go over it." "But they shall," said Peter. "Have a care," said Hodge, "for if you say too much, I will put my fingers in your mouth." "Will you?" said Peter. Just then another man of Gotham came from the market with a sack of meal on his horse. He heard his neighbors quarreling about sheep, but he could see no sheep between them, and so he stopped and spoke to them. "Ah, you foolish fellows," he cried. "It is strange that you never learned wisdom. Come here, Peter, and help me lay my sack on my shoulder." Peter did so, and the man carried his meal to the side of the bridge. "Now look at me," he said, "and learn a lesson." And he opened the mouth of the sack and poured all the meal into the river. "Now, neighbors," he said, "can you tell me how much meal is in my sack?" "There is none at all," cried Hodge and Peter together. "You are right," said the man, "and you that stand here and quarrel about nothing have no more sense in your heads than I have meal in my sack."